Hi, it's Mary, a traditional Chinese medicine tutor and an acupuncturist in Canada.
This video explains the factors influencing a Chinese pulse, such as the 4 seasons, day and night, sex, etc. When examining a patient's pulse, TCM practitioners should be aware of the influence of those factors on the pulse. Therefore, they will not take the physiological variations of a pulse conditions as pathological changes, leading to an incorrect diagnosis. The trick to analyzing the influence of the pulse is to see the influence of factors on Yin-Yang, and from Yin-Yang change to determine the impact on qi, blood, and the 脏腑 organ functions. Following this logic, the influence of the factors on the pulse conditions can be inferred.
There are several factors will influence the qi and the blood and the 脏腑 organ functions. From there to influence the pulse image. Those changes, they are corresponding to physiological changes, should be distinguished from abnormal pulse conditions.
Many things affect the pulse. Actually,
anything can affect the yin-yang, qi and blood, and the 脏腑 organ functions can affect the image of pulse. First one is season. Weather and the seasonal changes have some impact on the pulse condition. For example, a pulse is somewhat wiry in spring, somewhat full in summer, somewhat floating in autumn, and somewhat deep in winter. Think about it. Spring is associated with liver. Liver qi is relatively more abundant in spring. That's why the pulse will show the feature of this, somewhat straight, not that curly, so it's a little bit wiry. Liver pulse associated with wiry, so
you can feel the tension of the vessel wall.
In spring, it's more likely you feel the pulse is a little tense. If you feel it's a little tense, a little wiry, it's fine because it's in spring. That's the seasonal change. Based on the same idea, in summer, summer belongs to fire.
The heat and the fire belong to yang, and
the sufficient yang will make the pulse full, very big.
You can palpate easily
because the yang qi moving outwards. The yang qi pushes the blood vessel, makes the vessel full. So you see the pulse is somewhat full in summer. In autumn associated with the lung. So the lung pulse itself is a little bit floating. The lung, it's associated with the superficial part of the body. Lung qi associated with the skin, with the fine hair. So it's understandable to see a little bit of floating in autumn of the pulse. In autumn, you put hands here and you easily find your pulse. Just put it on the skin area, you find the pulse. And it's in autumn, you'll say, okay, it's fine, because it's the season has this kind of impact on the pulse. That can be the physiological phenomenon, not the pathological change. So you see the pulse is more floating here. And in the winter, it's somewhat deep. You see the pulse, you have to push a little hard to see the pulse. Winter is for storage. So winter associated with kidney, physiologically, it's deeper. So you need to push a little deeper to find the pulse. That's why we call it somewhat deep.
In winter,
you push a little harder to find the pulse, it's okay, because it's the seasonal change. All the pulse conditions mentioned here are proper to the season, indicating a healthy state. Day and night has influence on the pulsation. Day belongs to yang, night belongs to yin, relatively speaking. The character of yang is moving upwards, outwards.
And the yin is inwards.
Deep, hiding, and go downwards. Therefore, you can see the general tendency of a pulse condition is it's somewhat floating and strong in the daytime. Because it's associated with yang, so it's understandable. But at night,
The yin contracts and the yang goes inside.
So you see the pulse is deep. When it's going inside, it's harder to feel from the superficial, so it becomes thin, thready. And the yang is less, so the movement is slower down a little bit.
Therefore, you see the pulse become a bit moderate.
Somewhat deep, thready, and moderate at night because there's more yin than the yang at night. Actually, everything you can explain it from the angle of yin-yang. It explains one thing. Yin-yang is the base of TCM. We are always looking at the yin-yang. Once you know what's the character of yang, what's the character of the yin,
You use those characters
to analyze those factors, you can easily get the conclusion. In the process of learning, you use your idea, the yin-yang idea, to make this analysis. Now let's see the geographical effects on the pulse condition.
For example, in the southern part of China,
South part is hot and humid. Hot is the yang. The heat will make the blood run faster, so you see the pulse is somewhat rapid. If there is humid can make the blood vessel softer, so you see south part, the vessel is usually softer and somewhat rapid. But in North China, just like in Canada, the weather is dry and cold. You usually see deep pulse, excess pulse. In terms of sex, the sex difference determines the difference in physique. So comparatively speaking, male belong to yang, female belong to yin. If you think of that way, female pulse is often somewhat soggy. Soggy pulse is a combination of fine, soft, and more difficult to palpate with heavy pressure. That's the soggy pulse. It's a multi-featured pulse. It's weaker, but more rapid than a male pulse. There's some difference. During pregnancy, a slippery and rapid but harmonious pulse is usually observed. In pregnancy, there's some change. You usually see rapid and slippery pulse in pregnant women. Next one is about age. The younger the person is, the faster the pulse throbs. You look at the age difference. For an infant under 3 years old, a pulse with 7 or 8 beats
per breath
is regular. You are looking at it like 120 beats every minute. That is considered to be regular for infant under 3 years old. But for a child between 5 to 6,
6 beats per breath is common. So it's close to 90 to 100 beats per minute.
Something like that. You need to look at the age.
For different age, the definition of regular is different.
In young, strong people, their pulses are relatively large and forceful, understandable, full of yang. But in aged people, the yang are not sufficient, so you are going to see a little wiry. The yang nourishes the tendon. When we treat the stiffness of the tendon, the softness are much influenced by the yang qi. When people's yang qi declined, let's say
as people age,
the tendon, the fascia will become, relatively speaking,
stiffer.
That's why in aged people, you are expected to see a little wiry pulse for aged people, just like the tongue. The tongue a little darker because the blood movement are slower down than youth. So their tongue body is not light red, but a little purplish light red. That situation,
you do not associate it with blood stasis.
It's because of the age influence, the deficiency of the yang qi. Body build has an influence on the pulse. Bigger space between the 寸关尺 is seen in tall people and small space in short.
Because for a bigger person, the whole length is elongated.
Then there is a bigger space in between the 寸关尺. A floating pulse is often found in emaciated people due to a thin fat layer. They are very thin, so easily you can find it. This place already very skinny. You can easily touch the bone. For the thin person, the pulse is even superficial. It's very often to find a floating pulse in a thin person, And in obese people, because of thick layer of fat, a deep pulse is usually seen. For athletes, their pulse is often moderate and forceful, usually slow a little bit.
Like 60, 70 beats per minute.
Even it's regular, it's on the slower side, but it's forceful. In terms of the emotion, temporary emotional changes may affect the pulse condition. For example,
Overjoy impels the heart,
resulting in a moderate pulse. This moderate pulse is because the qi scattered, so the pulse is softer, it's more on the loose side. Rage damages the liver, leading to a wiry and rapid pulse.
Fright makes qi disturbed,
So the pulse is moving, it is a moving pulse. When people are frightened, you see the heart boom, 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 as though the heart is going to jump out of your mouth. That kind of feeling. If that situation you palpate the pulse will only be felt around the guan area, like a bean. It's not a lens like you can feel it on street portion. Maybe only you can find it in the guan area and like a bean, boom, 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 pulsing, responds strongly to your fingertip. That's related to the emotional change. When the emotional activities return to normal, a regular pulse is seen. Next one is rest and work. After vigorous exercises, the pulse is often rapid and racing. Exercises is associated with yang. A lot of time we say moving exercises produces yang. When you're young, not sufficient, go exercise. Moving creates yang. So vigorous exercises increase the yang. The pulse is often rapid and racing. That's understandable. But after falling asleep, the pulse is usually slow and moderate because the yang go inside. Generally speaking, the pulse condition of a brain worker is often weaker than a labor worker. Or labor worker, a lot of exercises has more powerful pulsation. The diet has an influence on the pulse as well. After meals and the drinking of alcohol, the pulse is rapid and forceful. During hunger, a pulse becomes somewhat moderate and forceless. That's why best timing to examine the pulse is early in the morning. When people wake up,
fewer factors
disturb them. That's the best time. More accurately reflects the condition of qi, blood, and zangfu organs. There's other types of pulse. We call it slantingly located pulse. Another one is dorsally located pulse. Usually we see pulse is only here. Some people, no pulse appears at the truncle in this area. Instead, slanting towards the back of the hand, like this one. Instead of in chun, this area, it tilted to the dorsal part of the hand. So this one called slantingly located pulse. Another one is if the pulse is palpable at the dorsum of the wrist. Instead of on this one, you can palpate it on dorsal part of the wrist. That's the radial artery. They just go this way, not run the normal route. This one is called the dorsally located pulse. These two kinds of pulse only show the variation of anatomical position and are not considered abnormal. So if you see those pulsations, it's okay. Some people do have this kind of variations. You don't need to worry too much about this part. If you find this video helpful, please give me a like, subscribe to it, and share it with others. See you in my next video. All the best!